I'm Dale Smith for Looney Politics, and a couple of weeks ago, the interim parliamentary budget officer went to committee and used words like stupefying and shocking and unsustainable when he was talking about the size of the federal deficit. And then later on went on TV and used the word on a precipice. The problem is that none of these descriptors are actually really true, and two of his former predecessors have come out in the media and said that no, he's crossed a line. None of this is actually the case. The finances are still sustainable, and so on. But here's the problem. Jason Jacques, the interim PBO, is interim. That means he's in a bit of a 6-month period where he's can essentially prove his worth. And parliamentarians will make a decision as to whether they believe he's the right person for the job, or PMO will start will look at other candidates as well. And it's hard to see how he could possibly be still considered after what he's been doing in the last couple of weeks, which has been essentially auditioning to be a media star and a pundit rather than a parliamentary budget officer, whose job is to make economic forecasts for MPs to use as part of their deliberations. And this is the problem that the PBO office has largely become, which is thanks to some of the previous PBOs, Yves Giroux being the most egregious, is that they've kind of decided that their role is to be a media star and to go on TV and say outrageous things and to opine rather than to create dispassionate forecasts. And that is a real problem in our parliamentary system, especially because as independent officers of parliament, they really don't have anyone to hold them to account other than perhaps the media. And that is a real problem when the media is goading the people on rather than holding them to account. And so here's the problem with Jacques. Already in question period, Pierre Poilievre has insinuated that the government is going to try and shut him up and that he's got a sword hanging over him because he has been saying these outrageous things, and Poilievre is considering that to make him a truth teller as opposed to someone who's doing it so that he can become a media star. And this is going to cause a lot of problems when it comes to what happens with his position. Now, Mark Carney has suggested that if he wants to make Jacques permanent, that they could talk about it because you need a certain level of consensus for an independent officer of parliament to get the position because parliament does have to vote on it. However, I would submit that Jacques has disqualified himself through this kind of behavior. Unfortunately, Poilievre will now double down on it and try and ensure that he gets the job because this is the kind of thing that Poilievre wants to see in a PBO rather than someone who's going to be doing their work and avoiding the limelight like one of our best PBOs, Jean-Denis Frechette, for that was his ethos. He produced good work, he avoided the limelight, and we didn't get these kind of explosive sorts of outbursts or trying to be talking head pundits on political shows. It was all about the work. So we're going to have to see if Carney can actually negotiate this, if he's going to consider that what Jacques did as disqualifying himself from the role, or if he's going to go along with what Poilievre wants for the sake of coming to some kind of an agreement, even though this behavior from a PBO is absolutely inappropriate. For Looney Politics, I'm Dale Smith.